Now, my question at the beginning was, which welder do I use? Well, hi folks. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I need some fabrication done for a little job, and usually I'll make these things on the job site, just using the equipment in my trailer. But I figured I might show you guys some things that I've been working on and a little welding going on. Today, I've got to make 4 posts. I'm going to make them out of 4-inch square tubing, an 1/8 inch thick or 11 gauge thickness. 2 of them are going to be 6 foot tall. 2 of them are going to be 10 foot tall. Now, these are going to go on either side of an industrial gate. It's got a slide gate on it. And by law, since 2016, federal law, you're supposed to have a photo eye on these gates. Now, my question at the beginning was, which welder do I use? I'm in a hurry. This green one doesn't work. This is one that I bought and it didn't work from the factory. They sent me a replacement for me to try out and tell you about, and it's still in the box. Drove Don nuts for quite a while. But Don's been trying to stop smoking, so as soon as I get back from this trip to the Bar Z Bash over in LA, I'm going to pull it out and give it a good going through and play with it a while. Now, in that video, you might have seen that Prime Weld sent me one also. Well, I've had it on the back of my trailer for about, 6 months now, and been trying it out, and so far it's done everything I needed it to do. Only one little problem. As it bounces around in the back of my trailer, the wire comes off of the spool. Makes the biggest bird's nest you ever seen. So I've had to take and put a piece of tape over the reel every time I put it up just to keep that from happening. It never did happen on my my Miller MIG that I had for over 20 years. I've had 2 different ones. So I was kind of shocked when I opened it up and saw that mess. But I'll get by. Now, this one was going to be in my trailer. It didn't work. They sent me this Everlast, but I already had the other Prime Weld here, so I've been using it and getting used to it. But today, I'm going to go back to my old standby, my old Miller 255, because it's already set up, and it'll keep Dawn on the hook just a little bit longer. Now, this is what we're going to be welding. These posts over here on the bench. The joys of having a nice, big, hydraulic fed table on a bandsaw. My do-all 26-inch hydraulically driven cable that can tilt. I have it set up right now for feeding the other controls. Especially like the fact that I could cut meteorites on this thing if I needed to. This is a 1-inch band I have up here. These are good things for putting your bandsaw blades on. It's a piece of 3/8-inch plate. And I need to cut 12-inch pads for a post to go on. And I can do this and walk off and do something else. Well, this is the pausing drill here, and this thing needs a little bit of touch up. Go touch it up over here. Sorry for the noise. Got to run a phase converter out here. See if that works. Now, back in my old high school shop days, we didn't get new drill bits. We got to sharpen, and our teacher only taught us how to sharpen on a hand drill. Or, excuse me, a grinder, and do it by hand. Sure, we're going through the hole. Now, I haven't had any takers on that drill, and this little clamp was on there, and frankly I swapped it off of there, and the reason being it's perfect for this. You look at my finger, that's the most serious injury I've ever had, and it was off of a damn drill press. I was sitting there trying to hold one of these and to let go, and it sliced me down here. The fingernail will never grow back, and it took damn near a year to heal. So don't hold things with your hand. Guess I better plug that one in. Now this is a punched plate you can buy. I'll tell you the truth, I've never found one that had the right size holes punched. You can't take a 5/6 or 5/8 or half-inch concrete bit and put down in there for a half-inch anchor. So I always have to do this. Now I can drill through those with a nice carbide concrete bit. use that bit to find the punch mark. And since this is not a through hole, put a little lube on this bit, a little easier. It's smokier too. Just repeat a lot. Okay, these are the gussets that I'm going to weld onto the base of this post I'm making. Going to be 4 of them, and I'm going to use my belt sander to take care of this edge. This is the finished edge that you'll see, but this edge and this edge is where I'm going to weld it to the post up here and then the base plate. So I'm going to knock the mill scale off. You don't really have to. That welder will burn right through it, but need to do this, so might as well do it all. That's the cut that the bandsaw left. Pretty good, huh? And that gives me 4 of them ready to go. Well, actually, that's 7 of them. Where'd the other one go? Oh, I dropped it on the floor. Never mind. My welding table runneth over. Here's all the gussets. Got 3 of the posts up here. I'm going to take the flap disc and clean up the edges where I'm going to weld. Makes quick work of it. Now this post here gets a 1 foot by 1 foot base plate and 4 of these gussets welded like this. And this is 1/8 inch thick 11 gauge steel. And the reason I'm putting these over here is because it's the strongest part of this whole structure. If I put them here, technically, this thinner section can whip around up at the very top in the windstorm where the light's going to be, could whip around and put stress fatigue here. If I weld it to this part, it's much stronger, and I can get a less metal fatigue out of the whole thing. So that's what I'm doing with these. The reason I'm doing it is because after all the windstorms we've had here, we've got trees down, gate openers left and right are failing, gates been thrown over everywhere by the, I think they called it a derecho, and we just don't need that to happen to this. At a time we make it where it's good. Now this is a 10-foot piece, these are 6 foot. They're going to serve double duty. This is going around a gate at a job. This will have a lamp on the top, and then it'll have 2 sets of photo eyes. One here, and then one up here. And this post will be across the drive and have the reflectors, or excuse me, the receivers for this kind of photo eye mounted here and here. Don't want a light on it, so I just made them 6 feet. The reason I have them this big is because 18-wheelers go through this gate. And if I put them down here and an 18-wheeler stops, it could shoot right underneath that trailer. So by putting a double set, I've got both vehicles, cars, trucks and stuff, and 18-wheelers covered. And this I'm just going to weld down here. So I'm just going to clean a little bit of it. Well, there you have it. Now, these plates, this is the top side. Now I went over this and knocked off most of the mill scale. I don't really care about getting it all off on this part because frankly this is really thick. And as I'm welding, all my heat's going to be on this part. 90% of the heat up here, and then I blend it in as I get into this thinner metal. But when I'm through, I'll have all this like this. The bolts can be I need 15 hands or a Don. Oh well, you get the idea. It's ready to weld. Well, this is what we're going to be welding today. These 4x4 posts, and I need to put a base on it. In the video you saw me cutting these plates out, making them and drilling them and everything, and cutting these on the big bandsaw. I've gone through and knocked off the heavy mill scale everywhere I'm going to weld on this. And the reason I did is because these are going to get welded right here. And this is an 1/8 inch thick, this is 3/16 thick, so it's going to be a mismatch. So I didn't want to have to burn through the mill scale great amounts of it to get a good weld. Now that welder will burn through mill scale, and I guarantee you out in the field 99.9% of stuff like this never gets the mill scale removed. But I do when I need to. I've got 8 of those to weld on. These are the plates for the 6-inchers. And over here is the plate for the 12. So what I'm going to do, because these 6-inchers just need that plate foot on them, I'm going to get them off my bench real quick. I want to show you a little trick I use. This is a 10-footer. Put this one out here. Now this is an 8-inch plate. I got a 4-inch, so that leaves 2 inches around the outside. And frankly, if I stood this, put the plate on the table and stood this up in the air, I'd have 6 feet of unstable, wobbly metal. So what I do is I get out my old trusty blocks. Now before I get 40,000 comments about how I'm misusing I wish 40,000 comments, that would be a lot. I'm not going to answer them, although. Anyway, this is not a precision instrument. This is about a $5 block that I bought off of eBay when you could buy 20 of them for $100. They're not that precision. And so they make really nice measuring blocks. They're close enough, 2 inch by 1 inch by 3 inch. Well, I just happen to need a 2-inch spacer. Put the 2-inch spacer on, put a clamp on it. Learn how to work your fingers. As you get older, your fingers don't work so good. That's why I can never enter a speed contest on a 4-jaw chuck centering. It just don't work that well anymore. Got it flush with the edge up here, tightened it down, voila. I've got a 2-inch gauge block on this thing. All you need to do is get a pink ruler out that Don would never, ever steal. Line that up on 2-inch. Come over here. It's not exactly 2-inch, so it's going to split the difference. I've got something that's really good. Then I got another cheap machinist square that I bought. It wasn't that great of a square, but it works close enough for this. The plate is square. We're ready to tack that on. Then I can weld it. I'm going to do the same thing on the big piece of the 10-foot post here, but I needed a different kind of gauge block. So a piece of 4-inch tubing, same thing, line it up, tack it on the other side, and I've got my base all ready to go. That's how you make money when you do fabrication like this. Use little tricks like this. And don't drop all your damn gauges everywhere and have to keep redoing them. That's the second way you make money in fabrication. All right, back we go. Got the pink Dawn proof. Line it up. Get your welder set up and away you go. This is 1/8 inch tubing being welded to 3/16 inch metal base plate. Well, I'm using auto set because I find it really good to get close, and then you could change it in very well. And that's the settings we're starting off at. Now, I don't know why, but I have never been one for just laying it up there and welding. Maybe because I grew up old school stick welding before we even had MIG. And I still do patterns. I see some people, they get it so damn hot and they just lay it and it just makes a nice bead. But I like to tie it in. I learned a long time ago that you got to have penetration. If you don't have penetration, you're just hot gluing it. And that right there is the reason MIG had such a lousy reputation for years. Because people just used it like a hot glue gun and laid it on there, and it didn't penetrate very well and it'd fall off. In fact, when I first brought home my first axle from 16, the man that I bought it from didn't have a way to get it out of his shed. So I said, well, I can do it. So I made some rails that bolted onto the bottom of that axle, and I welded it all together in one day and took it up there, and he's looking at it. That looks like MIG welding. I said, yes, sir. He said, that'll never work. I said, why? Because it's MIG welding. Well, there's MIG welding and there's MIG welding. I use it just like a stick arc. Watch my puddle get in there and get into the parent metal and get penetration, and it works just fine. He was dumbfounded. He didn't think he could ever hold on. Well, just as easy. I got one of them done. Let me get the other one done, and then we'll go on to the next part, more complicated one. Well, you might be able to see from outside that it's gotten dark. Got one more put together, and I'm kind of getting eat up by mosquitoes. Had a casualty. My Optrail Crystal 2 helmet has not been working the whole time. It's not darkening. I don't know what's wrong. I changed the batteries. I've gone through the manual. So I'm without my air conditioning. So I got the one that doesn't have air conditioning, and it's working just fine. Got my template here. I'm just going to go around and tack it up real quick and get everything laid out, and then we'll go from there. The welding's been doing pretty good. I don't do a lot of welding. I really like this miller. I bought it 4 or 5 years ago. I got some videos on it on the channel. It's really reliable. It's got a lot of power. Doesn't ever go past its duty rating. I don't need this one. I find that this one here shields my hand a lot from the arc, so I don't really ever use that. Let me get started here. Oh. I forgot. I'm having tip problems. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just not far enough out. Another tip, and we'll just quit messing around with that one. While I was over there, I bumped up the inches per minute. I was finishing up the welds on the other post, and I just, all of a sudden out of nowhere, porosity just started going anywhere, and I don't know where it came from. The gun and everything hadn't changed. Don't think there was any kind of oil or anything, but all of a sudden it just went to hell. I found the wheel that locks on the big spool of wire in the miller had kind of come askew. So I straightened that back up. But that's when that tip had messed up. Let's see if this will work. That has got me lined up. And when you're doing an assembly like this, I always like to get that tacked on, and then you can put your other pieces in place without having to grind off a weld or anything. And this is just kind of not a super critical thing. I'm just putting it in the center of this and aiming this towards that corner. And making sure that's where it needs to be. Yowza, hot, 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 hot. Now get one. I'm going to tack it on this side too. putting in small tacks so I can go over it with the bead. I'll give you a picture of what I've done here, what I've taken care of, what I have done. Now all I've got to do is run a lot of bead. And when I build things that go outside, I always weld every single seam. You don't have to for strength, but if you don't, the water gets into these open joints. You can't paint them worth a flip. And when it comes to metal and water, it rusts, and then it starts running down your fences and things like that, your gate posts, your really expensive gates. And what you end up with is a bunch of rust spots all over your gate. It's just a fact of life. You got to seal up all the joints. The water gets in there. Now, I'm doing it a little different here. I'm kind of going downhill here and over to here and starting up and going down. I can go here, but I just get so far and I have to reposition myself. I'm being able to see into that 90-degree corner of that weld, and I know I'm getting good penetration, so I'm not really worried about being too much uphill or downhill. This is like 45, so I think it'll be plenty strong enough. Gone all the way around that side and done this side under here. And I'm with this side over here done. And the bottom one's done. Had a little problem there, had a burn through. I had to restart a couple of times, get my hands right. You got to remember, this is 1/8 inch thick. This is 3/16. This is 3/16. I have the machine set for 3/16 because that's one of my main goals, is to get those welded in very good. And so what I'm doing to offset having it hotter is I'm trying to concentrate more of my heat in my circle pattern than I do going up here on this and then coming back quickly across and going into the thinner metal. I'm going to go backwards this time. going to get barbecued. I don't know how much of that you guys saw. That's going backwards the other way. I did it backwards than I normally did so you guys could watch. I think I did it like this. I'll get down here. I do much better going toward my right. Now, this is hot metal. And I put my glove here, but it reminded me that you can put a glove like this and slide. If you do it like this, I always stick more. And I have to usually reposition 1 or 2 times. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this whole joint here just by using the sliding glove. See what that does for us. That was the whole joint without a stop. That was the whole run without a stop. But there's where I went over my tack. Well, can't say much for my welding, but I don't think it's going to fall apart. Well, there's what it looks like all finished off. That's the 10-foot post over there so they can put a light on it. There's the 6 over there. All welded up so it doesn't have any rust spots start on it. Double photo eyes. Shoots across It's these. It's only one way, so moisture doesn't affect these very much. Right in the flight path of Intercontinental Houston. Used to sleep in a little paramedic station right under that pathway, and on foggy mornings, man, they would come in, you think they're gonna kill you. It's a little keypad. Boss has a real low car, so they wanted it low. It's been out here about 4 years. All right, thanks for watching.